Start creating a simple but complete dashboard from scratch with 4 controls, input parameters, and links. As the first step, create a new document and call it Demo. And as usual, indicate the distribution of components or controls with our HTML editor. It is not necessary to follow any specific order for the distribution. Continue by dragging the control you want to the column area and create it with its corresponding identifier and description. Go on and define the parameters the control will receive, in this case, the year. Define the SQL sentence for the main needle that represents the actual value. In my case, I will copy the SQL sentences from the auxiliary screen. When creating or modifying the SQL, it is necessary to update the component representation in the designer. Now, define an SQL sentence for the minimum and the maximum value of the KPI. As in the previous versions, you can set them as discrete values or with a new SQL sentence that must return the minimum and maximum values to represent. Define the colors you will use in the component's KPI zones to indicate if values are in the optimal range. In my case, I will use 3 colors and assign them the minimum and maximum for each zone with discrete values. In this version, you can define values with an SQL statement and as many color zones as you need. In the previous versions, the 3 zones came by default. It was not possible to add more. Next, assign the target value to the needle. In this version, you can set as many target needles as needed. Click Update. We are finally in the stage of formatting the main label. Also, define the angle that will cover the minimum and maximum values of the graph. And that's it. Save your progress. Now, add a chart type control, proceeding in the same way as before. First, incorporate the SQL statement that will deliver the data from the necessary data sources or sources. As before, I copy it from the auxiliary screen. You can see the information from the SQL at the bottom of the screen. Link the data of the SQL with the properties of the chart. Define the necessary strings and assign them the just created argument and value columns. At this point, you can see a graphic on the screen and proceed to activate and define the personalization properties you want, like, for example, the color palette. Later, I will show more properties of the chart control. With this chart, you have a view of sales per year that will serve as a filter or selection for other components. Afterward, proceed in the same way as before to incorporate a donut diagram with the sales made in each country. The only difference with the previous one is proceeding to create a link field where you will receive the control, the selected year, and then changing the type of graph from chart to donut. The last component of this demo is the grid type. With it, you will see the values of the previous control grouped by country. Proceed as before. Create a component, add the input parameter where the selected year will come from, and load the SQL statement. Synchronize the SQL columns with the control. The list will appear in the preview. Next, assign properties to the view and add calculation fields, total groupings, indicators, or whatever you want. In the HTML part of each control, you can add text, icons, conditional panels, etc. Remember that we can define as many lines as necessary in the document and up to 12 columns per line to comply with the responsive web standard. As the last step, add the title of the document through the HTML editor, but this time for the entire document, and move the components at your will from one area to another to find an optimal representation. Remember, by clicking on the tablet and mobile icons, you can set custom views for these devices. By default, the editor creates them automatically. Likewise, we inform you that some controls, such as the grid or the linear gauge, will sometimes require the height to be specified. You can find the height to the right of the HTML editor in Style. I will wait until it is erased. OK. Good. Once all the controls or components have been made, proceed to link them together and indicate the values that must be passed from one controller to another. If necessary, this same process serves to link the different analytical documents with each other. The chart with the value per year will deliver the value to the donut chart. Go to Chart by Years and in the Links tab, select between controls and it will present us with the value expected by the donut component. Reference it to the column of the targeted SQL or to the variables the component has. To link the values of the donut and the grid with the scale KPI, we will proceed in the same way, but from the component that will deliver the data, the chart donut. Link twice, once for each control that you want to link. With this, you are done with the document. We will improve the dashboard we just built by adding interactive tooltips to the controls. Enter the chart control we created previously and access the series to open the series created in the previous demo. Click on the point label and select the visibility to set it to yes. Point labels will automatically appear at the top. We can change it between outside and inside, although I like it better outside. The next thing to do is to format the value of the dotted label, putting 2 decimal places. Confirm the changes and you are ready to edit the tooltip. Let's start with a simple tooltip. Make the year and the argument field bold. Then put a break that is the next line. Make the sales bold too. In this case, the value comes previously formatted by the format string. Let's copy everything to the clipboard for later use. It has already appeared. Go to Tooltips and enable them, but not before placing the same format string that was previously put in the tooltip design. Paste what we had copied in the previous section to get the same representation of the tooltip as in the dotted label. As soon as it is enabled, it is visible. Accept and save the changes. Continue by opening the donut control. Accept the query parameters. And as you can see, there is absolutely nothing, there is no tooltip. Open the series and in the label, put the visibility property back to yes. Now something has appeared. If you look closely, you will notice you can change the location of the label too. Although my favorite representation is in columns, I prefer to enable the lines with a certain thickness, because this way the values do not overlap as much and it gives a much cleaner view. As follows, set the format properties 2 decimals with the $sign. Accept. And as expected, the countries are listed by their code. But don't worry, there is a way to place country names at the top. Modify your SQL statement to add an extra column. We are going to add an extra column which we will obtain from an inner join with the country region table. Wait a minute. Where equals country. Okay, we already have it. Save your progress and update to see the new column you just added. Go to Series and notice there's a column called Label Column. This column is a column that you can use for wherever you want. In this case, I am going to use it to put the descriptive name. Go to the Tooltip Designer and we go to put the point tag, which is the extra tag column. Let me make it bold. Accept, and there you go. Next, enable the tooltip and go to Properties so you can make it look better by giving it some style. Create a span of indigo color for countries from the point tag previously created and a line at the end. Next line and total sales. Total sales also, in bold, come from value. Alright, let's see how it goes. Well, it's not bad, but it's a common result. What else can we improve here? Let's go back and add a div with a fixed width size. Let's say 180 pixels. If you want to go further, add an IMG tag with a certain margin, both on the left and the right, and a predetermined fixed height. Let's say 64. It will scale. The origin will be a root that we have on our computer, in this case in localhost 100. That leads to an SVG file whose name is the argument, the value of the argument. Add 2 blank lines, and a flag has come out. We already have an image. Let me take it from the clipboard and ace the test. The famous interactivity of JavaScript. We can add styles, external calls, buttons, and scripts. In this case, this is an example that I have previously built, which will show us a conversion calculator, completely direct in JavaScript. And that will work perfectly in BI4Web viewer.